in the 80s, I was the absolute governor on the cobbles. No one in England could beat me.
Lenny McLean in the 1980s was the main man in London when it came to enforcer work, usually acting as the minder for deals between heavy firms, whilst making a name for himself in the bare knuckle and unlicensed fight game. Today we look at an extract from Lenny McLean's book, The Governor, link in description, describing a violent turnout between two huge men, described as rastas in the book, and Lenny over a minding job that went dangerously wrong and could have cost Lenny his life. The payback by Lenny on the two men referred to as rastas in the book was swift, bloody, and violent. So let's get started. I was in the Widows, a little drinker in Bethnal Green, just behind the Blind Beggar, when a couple of rastas walked in, all hair, woolly hats, about 2 foot high, beads the lot. They had a quick word with the governor, and they looked around at me. I gave them a bit of a growl in case they were thinking of starting something, but they came over anyway. We got all that, hey man, how they hanging crap out the way, and the biggest one said, some people we know need a minder for a few hours, and the word is you're a very tough man with your fists. You look big enough to do your own heavy stuff, I said. He gave a shrug. I agree, man, but I don't do that sort of work. I'm in business. I do other kind of things. I was polite, but I told them I was too busy, what with this and that, so they let it go. Don't get me wrong, I'm no racist. In fact, loads of my pals are black fellas, and they're as good as gold. But there was something funny about these two. Couldn't put my finger on it, but when I get a gut feeling, I go with it. Don't forget, when I get offers to work, it's on the other side of the fence. It's not decorate a couple of rooms, bang a few nails in, or taxi someone to the airport. It's something heavy, with a fair bit of aggravation. So I never, ever take chances. As I said, I turned them down and forgot all about it. I could have done with the work, but you can't be too careful. A couple of days later, I was in a different pub, and this pikey-looking geezer introduced himself, threw up a couple of names, and offered me a bit of work. These pikeys aren't proper gypsies, though they like to think they are, but most of them are straight enough to deal with, so I didn't get a sense that it might be a bit iffy. There was no reason why I should. I got these offers all the time. He seemed sound enough. What with the names and everything, so I heard him out. $3,000 in cash if I watched his backside while he does a deal with a little South London firm to buy a load of bearer bonds. Straightforward, so we set it up for the coming Friday. The meet was to be near the Dartford Tunnel, well out the way of any nosy bastards. It's different now, what with the motorway and bridge, but then it was like a trip out into the country, and the waste ground where we were going to meet is now built over with a shopping centre on about 5 acres. I met this pikey, Bill, not far from where we were going, got in his motor, drove the rest of the way, and parked up. 20 minutes later, a big Ford executive pulled in and flashed its lights. Out we got. Bill was holding a bag of money. Hold back a bit, he says, but if you see it looks a bit iffy, get in quick and put them down. Getting out the other motor were two blokes, the same setup as us, one doing the deal and one minding, usual stuff. Bill handed over his parcel, and as he put his hand up for the other package, flash, bang, and he's gone down. As I jumped forward and grabbed the gun before it was pulled round on me, the other bloke jumped in the motor and started it up. I only managed to get one belt in before the geezer I took the gun from scrambled up from the ground and dived in the car, and it took off. I flung the gun at the motor and ran over to Bill. He was screaming and crying and holding his side. Now I was raving mad. I didn't give a bollocks about the deal. It's nothing to do with me. But this slag had nearly got me killed. I got hold of him and dived down his pockets. He had a wallet stuffed with notes, so I took the lot. I gave him the choice. Fill me in on what had just gone down, or stay there and bleed to death. It turned out he was fronting it for the rastas, and it was a drugs deal, not bearer bonds. I guessed as much. I had taken on a straightforward mining job with good heart, and this shit's gone down. I never can tell what I'm getting into. He was still crying for me to take him to hospital, so I slung him in the back of the motor, F the blood on the seats, and drove back to where I'd left my car in a little lay-by. He had passed out by now, so I parked him up, put all the lights on, and scarpered. At the first phone box I came to, I dialed 999, told them where the geezer was, and put the phone down. I didn't want to be involved in any more shit. Does that sound heartless? Well, it was. I didn't give a toss. As I was driving along, I felt a cold sweat running down my face, thinking about my wife and kids, and how close that drug-dealing bastard had come to ruining their lives. By the time I got home, I'd calmed myself down. It wasn't finished yet, but I was using my nut. Keeping cool, keep calm. Val was dozing in front of the telly, the screen was blank, and giving out a sort of musical hum, because it was after midnight. Do you know, I didn't have a drop of blood on me. Driving along, I felt like I was covered in the stuff. Val's sleepy. Hello, love. How did it go? It was so ordinary and homely. I couldn't believe what had gone down just over an hour ago. Still, I couldn't disbelieve it either. Because when I emptied the wallet, that little stash counted up to over 4,000. I cut it in half and dropped one of the bundles into her lap. She just said, "Thanks, Len. I'm going to bed." Bless her. She didn't ask why, where, or what. Not disinterest, just trust. She was a housewife, I was a money getter, and that was that. Before I got into bed, I looked in on the kids. Jamie in bed, Kelly in her cot, two little ginger heads sticking out of the blankets. I gave them both a little kiss without waking them, and shivered when I thought about what might have happened. Not for me, but for these innocents. Some bastard was going to get it. I checked out the papers for a few days, but there was nothing about the Dartford business. I put the word out for a few people I could trust for them to keep an eye out for those rasta slags. It took nearly a month before I got a call that put them in a club in East London. You think I'd cooled off? You don't know me. I was there in 10 minutes. The place was nearly empty. 3 people, that's all. The 2 I wanted and the bloke behind the bar. They'd have had more chance if somebody had let a wild dog loose on them. I slipped into both of them at once. I broke their jaws with the first swipe, and as they went down, warned the barman he was next if he touched the phone. I could have stopped there. They were well damaged. What they had done to me, they nearly made my Val a widow. Anyone who's seen one of my bare knuckle fights will know what I gave them. This wasn't a straightener. It was all in. With both of them still on the floor, I punched, belted, and kicked them until he didn't move anymore. I gave the barman a look and he put his hands up. Didn't see a thing, mate. Blokes who done them was mashed up. I gave him a nod, said, "Mind how you go," and slept out. I was satisfied. When word got round, slags would think twice about making me a mug. A little end came to that story about 18 years later. I'd done a bit of work for a firm over Catford Way. In fact, I'd done a lot of work for them over a few years, so we were quite friendly. We were talking about various things we got up to, and I told them I nearly got blown away. One of them, a bloke called Jimmy, gave a big laugh and told me he knew who it was that took a pop, that had been dead for years. It's a small world. There's me all pally with a geezer who was a mate of the bloke who nearly killed me. It might seem strange, but I never really had the needle with the other firm. What I'd been well pissed off about was being taken for a mug without knowing the score. So I hope you enjoyed that from the great man himself, Lenny McLean. Brought back some memories reading that extract out of the fantastic book, Lenny, the Governor McLean. I'm assuming the money from the books goes to Lenny McLean's family, Kelly, Jamie, etc. So if you want to purchase it, if you haven't already, I believe there's still copies available on Amazon. There's a link in the description. I've got no affiliation with it. I make no money out of it. It's just there for you if you want to read the full book. I know a lot of you guys from the past will already have it, but it was an interesting little story. If you've got any other books that you want me to cover and do extracts, etc., happy to do that. Just leave me the name or the person you want me to look up in the comments, and they'll be added to the list. Hit the likes if you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe if you want to know firsthand when the next videos come out, and notifications. Okay, that's me out.